Chapter 9, Rizal's Grand Tour of Europe with Dr. Viola.
After the publication of Noli, Rizal planned to visit the important places in Europe. Dr. Maximo Viola agreed to be his companion. Rizal received Pasiano's remittance of 1,000 pesos, which forwarded by one Luna from Paris, and immediately paid his debt to Viola, which he loaned so that the Noli could be printed. So first, he and Viola visited Potsdam, a city near Berlin. So the tour begins at dawn of May 11, 1887. Rizal and Viola, two borrowed-skin doctors on a rooming spree, left Berlin by train. Spring was an ideal season for them to travel simply because the spring was in the air and all over Europe. The flowers were blooming, the meadows were turning green, and the villages were humming with activity. According to Viola, the luggage of Rizal included all the letters he had received from his family and friends. So their next destination was Dresden. Dresden. Dresden is one of the best cities in Germany. Their visit coincided with the regional floral exposition, so Rizal, who was interested in botany, studied the numerous plant varieties of extraordinary beauty and size. They also visited Dr. Adolf B. Meyer, who was overjoyed to see them. Rizal was deeply impressed when he saw the painting of Prometheus Bound. So here is the picture of Prometheus Bound. So the play concerns the god Prometheus, who in defiance of Zeus, has saved humanity with his gift of fire. For this act, Zeus has ordered that he be chained to a remote crag. While Viola and Rizal strolling at the scene of the floral exposition, they met Dr. Jagger. In order to see Blumentritt for the first time, Dr. Jagger advised them to wire Blumentritt of their coming because the old professor was of nervous disposition and he might suffer a shock at their sudden visit. So the first meeting with Blumentritt. At 1:30 p.m. of May 13, 1887, the train with Rizal and Viola on board arrived at the railroad station of Litmeritz, Bohemia. So Professor Blumentritt, he warmly received Rizal and Viola. He was carrying a pencil sketch of Rizal which the latter had previously sent him so that he could identify his Filipino friends. For the first time, the two great scholars, Rizal and Blumentritt, who came to know each other by correspondence, met in person. They greeted each other in fluent German. Blumentritt was a kind-hearted old Austrian professor. Upon seeing the talented Rizal for the first time, he immediately took him into heart, loving him as a son. The two Filipino tourists spent many pleasant hours at the home of their kind host. They stayed in Litmeritz from May 13 to May 16, 1887. The beautiful memories of Litmeritz. Rizal had beautiful memories of his visit to Litmeritz. He enjoyed the warm hospitality of the Blumentritt family. So of course, the professor's wife, Rosa, was a good cook, and she prepared special Austrian dishes, which Rizal liked very much. His children was Dolores. Rizal called her as Dora or Dorita. The second one is Conrad, and last is Fritz. So Blumentritt proved to be a great tourist guide as well as a hospitable host. On another afternoon, Rizal and Viola were invited to a meeting of the Tourist Club of Litmeritz, of which Blumentritt was the secretary. So Rizal spoke extemporaneously in fluent German to the officers and members, praising Austria's idyllic scenes and its hospitable, nature-loving, and noble people. The audience wildly applauded him, for they were enchanted by his eloquence. Since Rizal was very happy and comfortable at the Blumentritt home, he painted a portrait of the kind professor and gave it to him. So Blumentritt was pleased with the gift. On their last night in Leitmeritz, Rizal and Viola, to reciprocate Blumentritt's hospitality, they tendered a banquet, a farewell dinner, in his honor at their hotel. On May 16 at 9:45 a.m., Rizal and Viola left Letmeritz by train. Blumentritt, his wife, and children were at the railroad station them to see them off, and they all shed tears in parting as the train slowly departed. So Rizal was very pleased of his visit to Letmeritz, which was one of his beautiful memories. He expresses his gratefulness to the Blumentritt family in a letter. He said, I shall make my good friends of Letmeritz the objects of my thoughts, and I shall say of myself, you are not alone. Rizal, in a small corner of Bohemia, there are good, noble, and friendly souls who like you. Think of them, consider them as if they were with you, as if they saw you. They will rejoice over your joys and will weep over your suffering. Please kiss the children for me, expresses my greetings to your wife and to your good father and the friends in Litmeritz. I am at heart an inhabitant of Litmeritz, just as you yourself are a Filipino in sentiments.
After Litmeritz, Rizal and Viola visited the city of Prague. They carried letters of recommendation from Blumentritt to Dr. Wilcom, a professor of natural history at the University of Prague. The professor and his charming wife and daughter warmly welcomed them and showed them around the city, highlighting its historic landmarks. Rizal and Viola visited the tomb of Copernicus, the Museum of Natural History, the bacteriological laboratory, the famous cave where San Juan Nepomuceno was imprisoned, and the bridge from which he was thrown into the river. After bidding farewell to Professor Welcome and his family, the tourists then traveled to Braun, where, according to Viola, nothing significant occurred. In May 1887, Jose Rizal and Viola arrived in Vienna, the capital of Austria. They were fascinated by the city's beautiful buildings, religious images, haunting waltzes, and majestic charm. With a letter of recommendation from Blumentritt, they met Norfenfels, a renowned novelist who was impressed by Rizal's talent. During their stay, Rizal received a lost diamond stickpin that was found and forwarded to him. They explored the city's churches, museums, art galleries, theaters, and public parks. They also met two friends of Blumentritt, Austrian scholars named Massner and Nordmann. On May 24, Rizal and Viola embarked on a riverboat journey along the Danube River. Rizal observed the riversides keenly and noticed the passengers using paper napkins during meals, which was a novelty to him. Viola commented on the hygienic and economical aspect of paper napkins. Their river voyage ended in Linz, and they traveled overland to Salzburg and then Munich, where they enjoyed the famous Munich beer. They also visited Nuremberg, known for its torture machines used by Inquisition, and were impressed by the doll manufacturing industry. From Munich, they went to Ulm, where they climbed the cathedral's many hundred steps. Viola struggled with the climb, but Rizal ascended without rest. They then visited Stuttgart, Baden, and finally Rainfall, where they witnessed the beauty of a waterfall considered the most beautiful in Europe. Overall, Rizal and Viola's journey through Vienna and various German cities was filled with cultural experiences, historical sites, and natural wonders. Crossing the frontier to Switzerland. Starting from rainfall, they crossed the border to Schaffhausen and stayed there for 2 days. Later, they continued their tour to Basel, Bern, and Lausanne. Let's talk about Geneva. Rizal and Viola explored the beautiful city of Geneva after their visit to Lausanne. They navigate the foggy Lemon Lake and interact with the linguistically diverse people of Geneva, conversing in French, German, and Italian. Apart from sightseeing, they enjoy a boating excursion on the lake, showcasing Rizal's rowing skills. Rizal also celebrates his 26th birthday with a lavish meal following a Filipino tradition. After spending 15 enjoyable days together, Viola returns to Barcelona while Rizal continues his tour to Italy. First exhibition of Igorots in 1887 Madrid Exposition. Rizal learns about the deplorable condition of the Igorots, a primitive tribe from northern Luzon, who were exhibited in the 1887 Madrid Exposition. He is outraged by the mockery and laughter they face from the Spanish people and press. Rizal expresses his support for an industrial exposition rather than an exhibition of human beings suffering outdoors. He then continues his tour to Italy, visiting Milan, Florence, and Rome. In Rome, he is captivated by the grandeur of the city and visits famous landmarks such as the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. He also explores churches and museums, including the Vatican City. After a week in Rome, Rizal prepares to return to the Philippines, informing his father of his arrival.